I have to praise you like I should. I have to praise you. I have to praise you. I have to praise you. I have to praise you like I should.
Hey Internet friends, today we're talking about some books written long ago, seemingly able to predict future events as though Nostradamus himself wrote them, but they were so boring no one really read them until recently. Before I proceed, should I apologize and make excuses for myself now or later? I'm envisioning Snopes writers spitting at their computer screens, and I'm already anticipating some of the comments a few of you are typing out. Grace, I can't believe you would perpetuate the right-left paradigm. Don't you know that politics is just theater? Well, don't mind me. I'm just over here in all my diet woke glory, going back to my roots of literary analysis. Because it's been 2 years since I uploaded my video on the marvelous adventures of Baron Trump, exploring the possibilities of time travel and psychological operation potential. And I've since been pondering Ingersoll Lockwood's other works, namely his short piece entitled The Last President, detailing the trials of the last president of the United States, the destruction of the Republic, and its parallels to President Trump. Hold on to your butts, Internet friends, because today we're traveling through past, present, and future to answer my pressing questions. What is destiny, and can it be manifested? First, let's talk about the author of these books. Ingersoll Lockwood was an American lawyer and writer based in New York. His father was a military man and close friend of Henry Clay, a U.S. representative, senator, Speaker of the House, and Secretary of State, who helped found the National Republican Party and Whig Party. Henry Clay's nickname was the Great Compromiser, the master of the art of the deal for his time. Apparently, Ingersoll Lockwood was a big fan of Clay too, because he wrote a poem for Clay adorning him with the Lockwood last name and referring to him as a brother. Both Clay and Ingersoll Lockwood are on record as Freemasons, which I only bring up in connection to the occult elements throughout their lives and works. Ingersoll Lockwood's friends weren't the only ones who were politically connected, as he was appointed consul to the Kingdom of Hanover, the fourth largest state in the German Confederation, by none other than President Abraham Lincoln. What did Lockwood get up to in his free time when he wasn't practicing law or acting as consul or writing children's books? Well, he created a club called the Union of the Titans, with exclusive membership of men taller than 6'2". According to his obituary printed in the New York Times in October of 1918, he died at the age of 77 in Saratoga Springs, New York. Ingersoll Lockwood's children's books about a character commonly called Little Baron Trump, his dog Bulger, and their marvelous underground adventures detail the adventures of a wealthy boy living in Castle Trump. And his journey consists of travel into Russia, depicting a world within a world which the young Baron explores with his dog Bulger, using a guidebook provided by the master of all masters named Dawn. Not even Baron's parents know where Baron was born, but he's constantly bringing up how big his brain is and manages to come up with a personalized insult for most folks he meets. And his adventures take him underground, underneath the Ural Mountains in Russia, much in the style of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. All the evidence needed to make a Russian collusion case can be found within the text of a book written over 100 years ago. Jokes, I got jokes. While his children's books were written in the early 1890s, Ingersoll Lockwood's later works include The Laconics of a Cult, a critique of organized religion and what he describes as shadowy gods on their shadowy thrones. At the end of this critique, Lockwood attempts to create a new cult called the Cult of the Immortal Human. Pictured at the beginning of the book are two photographs of Lockwood at age 30 and at age 60. Why are there two photographs? I guess the author wants you to notice how little he's aged in 30 years. November 3, 1896 was the 28th U.S. presidential election, in which former Governor William McKinley defeated Democrat William Jennings Bryan. Keep in mind, this was post-Civil War and pre-World War America. McKinley won, promoting the dollar being backed by the gold standard and encouraging industrial growth, while William Jennings Bryan lost as the pro-silver economic reformer. Lockwood's piece of political fiction about this election is dubbed a novel, but The Last President reads more like a play, one of 10 acts or chapters that follows a different timeline of the 1896 election, one in which a character named Bryan wins the presidency. The first scene is set in New York, where mobs are breaking out in New York City, and states that the Fifth Avenue Hotel will be the first to feel the full fury of the mob. Within the first act, a clear division is defined, one between those who support the new president and those who do not. Sound familiar? It's curious because 666 Fifth Avenue was built for the Vanderbilt family and was owned by President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. And Trump Tower is located on Fifth Avenue, but the parallels don't end there. It takes a few chapters to establish that Bryan is beloved by the common people, considered a savior and a god to many. Bryan has succeeded in connecting with the everyman. In chapter 3, it says that the people made him president in the very face of the prodigious opposition of the rich men, whose coffers had been of the satanic and truly devilish power of that hell upon earth known as Wall Street. So it doesn't take long to communicate to the reader that the valley between the rich and the poor was ever widening during this time. And the blame for the economic depression was placed upon Wall Street, which is given satanic characteristics. Probably because usury is considered a sin. And they say that the root of all evil is the love of money. There's talk of a dawnless day, and eventually, Bryan selects members of his cabinet. One of the members is a character named Pence. An executive order is passed abandoning the gold standard, Wall Street is shocked, and the brunt of it is felt by the common folk who are living in the streets of Washington, D.C. without food, waiting for rations and to be placed into camps. In a relatively short period of time, the dollar declines and the government is powerless to stop it. Taxes rise, and chaos capitalizes on this void. Separatist movements pop up with socialism and anarchy finding willing ears. Once again, the South unites against the North, as the South, which represents the common people, is upset about the taxes being placed upon them, especially when they view the North as the much wealthier territory. Prophecy details more revolution, more tensions between the North and the South. The play ends with a weakened and demoralized president being encouraged to resign by the Speaker of the House. But the president makes one last good show for the common folk, captivating everyone under his spell for one last time. Then, suddenly, the Capitol is struck by dynamite, and with it, the Republic falls. The whole thing ends really creepily, with the author describing a single human eye with a devilish joy admiring the rubble of the fallen Republic. Like a scene straight out of the fires of Mordor or the pages of a Lovecraftian horror, neither of which had yet been written. Ingersoll Lockwood's books resurfaced into public consciousness in 2017, when the internet popularized the novels by drawing parallels between them and the current political situation in the United States. From wealthy little Baron Trump living in Castle Trump, being guided by the master of all masters, Dawn, through various adventures in an underground Russian fantasy land, to the last president in Lockwood's novel presenting similarities to President Trump as a political outsider and champion of the common people. The familiar name Pence popping up within the president's own cabinet, as well as the divisive nature of the election and the location of the novel's mob activity in proximity to Trump properties. All of these are sprinkled across Lockwood's various works. And if we step back and look at his works as a collection, there are some strange synchronicities for sure. But in 2017, the discourse surrounding these books generally revolved around the weird similarities, but not the implications. Certainly, mainstream media helped shape the discussion by publishing an endless array of articles aimed to debunk the connection between Lockwood and Trump, writing it off as nothing more than tinfoil hattery. These articles addressed the question of whether or not Donald Trump had or has access to a time machine, routinely bringing up Trump's uncle and his examination of inventor Nikola Tesla's laboratory. In the aftermath of Tesla's death, The FBI reportedly confiscated his papers, and they were reviewed by none other than John Trump, a physicist who worked for the United States government's Office of Scientific Research and Development. Was Donald Trump privy to the contents of Tesla's office? Back in 2017, Snopes managed to take enough time away from soliciting prostitutes to write their take on the Trump-Lockwood connection. They said, although these books contain seemingly bizarre coincidences, they are no evidence that Donald Trump has a time machine. Thank you for that, Snopes. 2 years after Lockwood reached peak popularity, a writer who specializes in researching and debunking conspiracy theories and fringe beliefs by the name Mike Rothschild put together a frustrated piece expressing great displeasure about how this stupid Lockwood conspiracy theory wouldn't go away because, I quote, "Conspiracy theorists tend to never move on. They only add more details." I'm sure Mr. Rothschild knows this since he's a self-proclaimed expert on debunking these disgusting, predatory conspiracy theories that these mouth-breathing, low-IQ, useless eaters have the nerve to discuss freely online. But just a reminder that a conspiracy is, by definition, an evil, unlawful, treacherous, or surreptitious plan formulated in secret by two or more persons. Basically, a conspiracy is unlawful plotting between two or more folks. And a conspiracy theory is just filling in the blanks of the who, what, when, where, and why behind this unlawful plotting. Furthermore, I didn't realize that time travel or time machine ownership were unlawful acts. In order for them to be declared unlawful, there would have to be some kind of acknowledgement or declaration that time travel existed beyond the pages of your favorite science fiction novel. But hey, we all know that the best way to make people forget about something and keep them from discussing ideas is to repeatedly publish and perpetuate those ideas through various mainstream media outlets, framing the appropriate conversation along the way. Makes you wonder. When I made my original video about the marvelous adventures of Baron Trump, I knew nothing of memetics and even less of trickery, or the sleight of hand. While this whole story seemed to have peaked in 2017, there's never been a time more relevant to bring it up than right now, when the House of Representatives has impeached President Trump. As of this week, his Senate trial is currently underway. And for a while there, every time I turned on talk radio hosts perpetuated the theory that this whole impeachment trial would actually lead to the possibility of Trump running for a third term. A strange loophole of sorts, one might say. This idea seemed to have originated online by former Republican governor and father to former White House press secretary, but once again, the mainstream media moved quickly to debunk this claim, stating that the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution expressly prohibits a person from being elected to the office of president more than twice. Since Trump was already elected once, he is only eligible for one more term. Regardless, a third term for any American president seems like a recipe to dissolve the federal republic and constitutional representative democracy we supposedly have here in the United States. I realize our mileage might vary in connecting the past to the present. To use something as seemingly innocuous as an American lawyer's works of historical fiction and children's fantasy to analyze the reality in which we live. Maybe John Trump really did build a time machine off of Tesla's notes. Maybe Lockwood's family had some sort of looking glass family heirloom, and he wrote a collection of particularly hard-to-read works in an attempt to shift humanity from the path of destruction. Or maybe, just maybe, what's playing out before us is all a big theater performance, a most brilliant one, more of a comedy than a tragedy, to convince the masses that they have some sort of semblance of control over the thing we call government, as we continue to vote for people we'll never meet, in order for those elected individuals to turn around, line their pockets with lobby dollars, and tell us how to run our lives. For me, it's difficult to say whether the last president in Lockwood's book was a character genuinely concerned for the well-being of the everyman and champion of the common people, or if he was in on the plot to destroy the republic. But it doesn't really matter either way, does it? The outcome of his presidency was predetermined. A script written, the characters cast, the play executed, and destiny fulfilled. What do you think, internet friends? Are the parallels between Lockwood's collection of works and the current political state of the US nothing more than coincidence? Is this a case of happenstance, merely an oddity, rather than the script revealing itself? And if Lockwood's last president was indeed a warning, can destiny be stopped? Thank you all so much for watching. You know I always look forward to reading your comments. Thank you for subscribing and supporting my channel on Patreon.